Hi everybody, welcome to Built to Adapt here at SpringOne Platform 2017. I'm Jeff Kelly with Kira Byrne. We're talking to some of the most iconic companies in the world about how they're transforming how they build software and as a result, how they're transforming their businesses. We're also talking to some of the leading technology providers that are helping those companies do that. And that's what we're doing here in this segment with Microsoft. Jason DeLorme, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess the first obvious question is, Microsoft here at a Java conference. Maybe not something people would expect.
Yeah, hell froze over, right?
Right.
Definitely a totally different world at Microsoft from 10 years ago. Under the leadership of Satya Nadella, this is, Microsoft loves Linux, and that's could have been heresy a while back. You'll see Microsoft investing deeply in all the open source technologies. We have a great team of folks that are developing Java extensions for Spring. And there's actually a handful of folks. We've got 17 folks here, I think. About 10 of them are actually on the Java open source team at Microsoft, working with partners like Pivotal around Cloud Foundry, Microsoft being a member of the Cloud Foundry Foundation. So there's a big investment. We're really meeting our customers where they are, and we recognize that they want to run things like Cloud Foundry, like Pivotal Cloud Foundry, on a enterprise trusted secure cloud like Azure. So that's really changed the culture from, hey, we're not just shipping boxes of Windows, we're really trying to help customers achieve digital transformation through the technology that they're most comfortable with.
Right, so there was an announcement that we'll talk about in a moment, but maybe if you could just talk a little bit about the partnership more generally with Pivotal, and for those who might not be as familiar with it, kind of walk us through the timeline, how long you've been working together with Pivotal, and kind of where do things stand today, and then we'll get into the announcement.
Yeah, sure. So it's been a very rich partnership. Pivotal and Microsoft both really appeal to that enterprise customer. So we found ourselves meeting in the market a lot and recognized that, hey, we should be doing something closer together. It started with us investing in building the cloud provider interface, which is effectively the abstraction layer from Cloud Foundry and Azure. And that dates back almost 3 years now. So we've been live in production for a couple of years with support for open source Cloud Foundry, and very shortly thereafter, Pivotal announced GA. We have a couple of great production customers, good case studies with Ford and Merrill Corporation and financial services, and dozens of others that are running very large mission-critical applications. And so that's really quickly happened over the last 18 to 24 months, getting that enterprise adoption. And then we've continued to invest in both the CPI and also enabling services through service brokers. So 9 of our first-party services, from data storage to event hubs and so forth, that are enabled through the service broker and the open service broker initiative.
Mm-hmm. So talk about the announcement. One of the announcements anyway was PCF and support for Windows. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, most enterprises are polyglot. Right. They've got Java, they've got .NET. Microsoft's invested a lot in getting .NET to run on Linux, to run on a Mac, to run in different environments. So there's .NET Core. We also find a lot of customers, obviously, that still have full stack .NET, and they want to run that on Windows, and they like the operational model of Pivotal Cloud Foundry. And so one of the things that Cloud Foundry does is it takes your application and it containerizes it for you and deploys it out to the environment. So working very closely with the Windows engineering team and with the Pivotal engineering team, we've allowed them or enabled them to create first-party Windows Server 2016 container support for Windows containers. So the cells that are running your applications in Cloud Foundry can actually be running on full-stack Windows in a secure and isolated way inside of actual Windows first-party containers. So that was really a collaboration at the engineering level, which speaks to the partnership. There were a lot of feedback from Pivotal in iterative testing and feedback that's reached the product group and is influencing the future direction of the product as well.
And you also made an announcement, I think, about Azure Stack, your private cloud. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the differentiators for Azure is true hybrid cloud scenarios are supported, and what customers we see are looking for is a single pane of glass to support their cloud deployments, whether that be in the public cloud, US East, West, Canada, and sovereign clouds in Germany and China. We have 42 regions around the world, one of the most number of regions of any public cloud. But we also see that need to be able to do the same thing in your own premises for certain applications that will never go to the public cloud or may not for a while, or for air gap situations or occasionally connected scenarios like cruise ships and so forth. We have announced Azure Stack's been in the works for quite a while. It gives the same experience of working with Azure Public Cloud in your own on-premises environment to truly create that hybrid cloud scenario. And we're proud to show off here with Dell, another partner, the very first production appliance, serial number, some number of zeros and then one, because we're going to build a lot of them. It's over in our booth, blinking lights.
Okay.
And,
so if anybody wants to go and take a look at that.
anyone wants to go take a look at that, they can go take a picture of the serial number, which we watched. I think there's a few tweets out there with that. And so Pivotal has announced beta support for PCF running on Azure Stack.
So could you talk a little bit about your relationship with your customers and how that has changed over the last, say, 5 to 10 years? You mentioned some of the changes that have happened at Microsoft, embracing open source, you're here at the Java conference, things like that. Yeah. How has that relationship changed as we move into this more cloud native digital world, where it's really becoming, software is becoming core to the competitive advantage of a lot of different businesses, not just the tech companies? Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of that has to do with choice. I think in going back a decade or so, Microsoft was very prescriptive about the way that you would build an end-tier application, for instance. I think what we've done and recognized is we need to adapt, and we're not going to be the definitive source for every single piece of the stack. And so partnering has always been at the core of what Microsoft does. And so it's just natural that we would start partnering with some of the leading open source providers like Pivotal to support the customers' end goals. It's actually a completely different sales model as well. We're more tied to the consumption of using the resources in Azure, for instance, than selling the number of seats that you might have of Office. Right. And that's being tied to customer outcomes is a modality that has changed in the Microsoft field and the way we sell and work with our customers and with partners like Pivotal to achieve that. And Pivotal Labs is a great example of where we're partnering with their forward-thinking extreme programming methodologies and practices. A lot of customers want to be shown, hey, how can I do this? How can I get through this cultural change? And a lot of our customers have gone through the Pivotal Labs experience, working with Microsoft engineers and pivots to create great solutions on PCF using Java and Spring and running those on Azure.
Great. Another interesting tidbit is that you're also very active in the foundation, the Cloud Foundry Foundation itself. So talk a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pivotal is one of many, of several distributions of Cloud Foundry, commercial distributions. In fact, we also have SAP Cloud running, the preview anyways, running as a multi-tenant managed service on Azure. And we've worked with GE and Predix and other distributions as well. So it was really important for us to be part of that community. When we've seen a lot of demand in that enterprise customer base to run Cloud Foundry. And so it only made sense that we want to be part of that dialogue. We want to understand where the roadmap is. Software is never done, and we're continuing to evolve our underlying platform. We want to make sure that Bosch and the CPI and all those things align with, hey, as we introduce things like availability zones and different IaaS features that customers can take advantage of, we want to contribute there, and then also just be actively contributing in open source. Part of the philosophy is not just to get Azure out of it. We also want to be part of that community, part of that dialogue, and be seen as contributing and active and working with the community.
Right, great. So if we're here next year, we're talking on this stage, what do you hope to achieve over the next 12 months, both with Pivotal, but more generally as part of your goals for the year?
Yeah, I think it's it's probably twofold in this conference context. One is that we see Spring as being the way that people want to build Java microservices, and Cloud Foundry is a great place to run Spring. We want to see Pivotal Cloud Foundry or Cloud Foundry in general as Azure being the best place to run Cloud Foundry. And so I think we'll continue to, Microsoft wants to build the intelligent cloud, right? It's not just a commodity IaaS play, for instance. There's a lot of value in some of the managed services that we provide that complement PCF. So sitting here a year from now, I'd like to tell you that we've got service brokers for all of our machine learning and cognitive services, and that we've got examples of customers running, these great services along with PCF using Java and Spring to connect to those things. There's a lot of work that we're doing behind the scenes to make sure that we have the best user experience. We just also announced that the small runtime from Pivotal is the default deployment on the Azure Marketplace. So in a single click, you can deploy PCF. The first iteration was about 53 VMs, and while that drives a lot of consumption, a lot of people, that's way more than what you need to just get started and use the platform. So I think hopefully a lot sooner than a year from now, we're going to get that even smaller and taking advantage of some of the first-party database services and persistence layers. So we're focused on the reliability, we're focused on the user experience, and really love to tell a lot more customer stories like Merrill and Ford, and we've got dozens upon dozens that are actively deploying and crystallize those into some great case studies for the public.
All right, well, we look forward to that. Next year, hopefully we'll have some more of those conversations. So Jason, thanks so much for coming on, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for everybody for watching.